In this video, I am showing my exploration with hair particle effects in Blender 3.4. I have turned Phoenix, the Pharaoh Hound, into a new character. This is Ash, and he is a wolf hybrid dog. My computer wasn't able to render out this fur shader effect in Eevee, but this live viewport will do. Let's dive in. To create fur particles, select the Mesh and in Object mode, go to the green triangle Vertex Group menu on the right side of the screen. Hit the plus to make new group. Rename this to fur.head. This is basically making a new data set just for the head for where we want the fur to be. In Edit mode, select the faces. Shift-A to select all and assign this to the new fur vertex group. Select the lasso cursor. Numpad 3 for side view and make sure it is in mesh mode to select both sides of the faces. I am selecting parts of the mesh that I do not want fur on. With the mesh select, just hit the remove button in the vertex group menu. To expand/grow a select the hotkey is Ctrl numpad plus to shrink is Ctrl numpad. Open the particle menu. Hit the plus and rename the particle to fur.head. Change the hair length to something more suitable. Select hair. The hair particle is only visible in object mode. In the Particles menu box, to load up the vertex group I made earlier, go to the vertex group drop-down density and type in fur.head. You will have to fine-tune the settings. I am just showing you my explorations here. Also, the fur here is using the texture map I have loaded as the base for its color. I think it also uses the specular map. To edit the hair in the top left drop-down menu, go to Particle Edit. The tools along the left side are pretty straightforward. I started with brushing the fur to give it direction, then I used the density brush to add more hair, and it tends to follow the existing hair. The children in the menu box basically adds more depth to the fur, and there is option to randomize that so that the fur can have an uneven spacing and a more natural feel to it. It's easier to brush and give the directions before adding the density. The more particles the heavier the scene gets, and your computer will get very angry. I am trimming the fur to make it even before smoothing it flat against the mesh to create a slick-looking fur. The particle B-spline is helpful because sometime with just a simple line I can't move the line or can't be exact when I need to trim a random stray hair. The particle B-spline tool with just the dots showing on the ends is just to manipulate the ends of the hair. I am add density mostly in the areas where the fur meets to create volume. The smooth areas can be faked by smoothing out the fur. The trim tool works best along the silhouette. Not bad. I don't know why it looks so orange and faded. Let's poke around. This looks fun. What is this? This is an Eevee viewport. I have put the display amount to 50. That is too high and can cause fatal errors, as I found out the hard way at the end of this video. I want to see cycles render. Wow, buhahaha, that is different. Shift-A to select a node from the menu. I guess it's only Eevee render for this project. So now I am turning this hound into a wolf hybrid dog. I want the texture to be a dark gray-black. Add a curve node and RBG to grayscale node. Filling in the fur and add some length to create some shagginess. Grooming and giving the neck a nice haircut. After the haircut, I am styling the fur. Think of it like putting in gel and drying the fur to look more polished. Just curling the tips and giving some randomness to break up the line. Giving it a more natural feel. I am wanting the profile to have variations of smooth to fluff chunky fur, as I don't want this wolf to end up looking like Puffball Malamute. I think that's good enough for now. Time to work on the body. Create a new vertex group and rename it to fur.body. I am removing the legs from the vertex group as I don't want fur on it. Remember the type in and rename the particle systems and load the vertex group to fur body. I think for the body it might be easier to start with longer fur and then trim it back. Just removing these faces from the fur.body vertex group. In the particle system menu, load up the vertex group fur.body. Adding in some curve and RBG to black and white nodes to change the color of the texture map. Growing the fur long. Big rough hair cut to shape out the form. I use the fluff tool to fluff up the fur that is compacted, so when I cut the hair, then the length will be more consistent and easy to predict how it will fall when I style it with the brush. The really long random hairs produce odd-looking particles, make sure to zoom in to trim those out. Now I am defining the flow of the fur. Don't add too much density in the beginning as it will only drag down your computer's GPU. Grow out the tail and trim and brush to style it. I like the general feel and flow of the fur. Now I am going to add density and specific areas to grow it longer for the shaggy look. Fluffing it back up to trim the fur. Looks like a porcupine. This is my first groom for shader particle project so far. I think it is pretty fun because there is an element of surprise because the fur doesn't render out exactly like in the viewport. I am fluffing it up to trim the fur because it's too hard to trim the fur properly and to be exact when it is all brushed down and slick against the body. I also didn't know how dense I needed the fur or what I have in mind as I am making this up as I go. I am not using any reference and just freehanding this character from my mind as I go. A 3D doodle. Slicking down the short fur on the legs and cleaning up the fur profile where they intersect. I see in other fur tutorials some people section off different hair types into different vertex groups. Since this is my first fur project, I just wanted to keep it simple and focus on the creative aspects and not be bogged down with technical details. Haha, this looks like a fancy wolf that's been to the groomers. Suits that fancy collar he has on. I can't tell if the long hair mode makes a huge difference or not. I think the clumping might work. I turned on the parenting and randomness in the child in the particle system. Just adding in some final touches to clean up the fur. Some clumping will make it look like the fur had some time to grow in a bit after this wolf had been to the groomers. Well, this is pretty cool and fun. And so fast compared to texture painting and doing alpha card planes. I wonder if my computer can handle any wind or gravity simulations with this fur system. I think the nodes did a pretty decent fast job at changing the texture color, but I will still need to go in and make a new texture map for the head around the nose and eyes area is just too bright. It's too bad the hair particles are not picking up the subtle shades of gray for those areas. If you know how to fine-tune the color ramping of the hair particle based of a color texture map, please comment. I am trying to pose Ash. But the fur particles are just too heavy. Toggle off the particle system in its menu under the little monitor display icon. Oh my, what skinny little noodle he is. I lowered his eyebrows to give more intense personality to go with his shifty side eyes. Rotating through the different HDRI environments to see which lighting is more forgiving and shows off his textures and brings out his eyes the most. The specular map shows through into the fur particles and gives it an iridescent charcoal-like quality. I think his fur looks more interesting and striking like this instead of jet black. And I don't want to spend time painting in gray bits into his textures and fiddling around with the fur shaders to get it to show the peppering in his coat. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to support my channel. See you in the next video. Bye for now.